So there was this guy that lived in the U.S. Virgin Islands. He was on the 1992 Olympic swim team. A hurricane came called Hurricane Hugo and destroyed the only Olympic-sized swimming pool in all of the region. So the team was forced to practice in the ocean. Well, he was afraid of sharks, like all of us, so he quit the swim team. He then turned to basketball, and he ended up being the greatest power forward of all time. This is Tim Duncan. Now, I know only 20% of you guys know this face, so I'm here to change that. I'm going to talk to you about exactly who he is and what accomplishments has he done. And I know because I'm kind of a fan of his since he's been drafted, and I've done my research. So we're going to go over the beginning stages of his career, talk about college, the first years in the NBA. Then we're going to go over the major highlights, his memorable moments from being a professional in the NBA, and then his last season in the NBA. So after attending college, since a freshman, he was being scouted by the NBA early on. But it was his dying mother's last wishes for him to complete a 4-year program. So he stayed in college, got his degree. In his senior year, he got the NCAA Player of the Year award. In 1997, he was drafted by the Spurs, first round pick. And then that same season, he got Rookie of the Year. The following year after, he got his first championship as a 22-year-old, and he got a Finals MVP. That was the first one for the San Antonio Spurs, and he was the second youngest player of all time to accomplish such an accomplishment. The first decade of the 2000s was completely dominated by Tim Duncan and
Kobe.
Yeah, Tim Duncan and Kobe. So in 2002, 2003, Tim Duncan got back-to-back MVPs. By the end of 2003, Tim Duncan had already his second championship and his second Finals MVP. 2 years later, it was kind of the same narrative. He got a third championship and a third MVP. By 2007, he was on his way to his fourth final appearance. So after that championship, the Spurs already had the fourth most titles in all of NBA history. By this time, he was already in the league for about a decade, so his role in the league was starting to be defined. He would be known as the most humble and more patient player of all the players in the NBA. Players would actually say he's kind of like a dad on the court. Opposing teammates or opposing players would literally tell stories about how when they were playing against Tim Duncan, on the court, he would specifically coach them during the game. Like literally during the game, he would coach the opposing team. Yeah, that's just the type of guy he is. And he would really hold his composure. He would never show that much expression. He would never go anything too crazy. He was only ejected once, and that was because he was giggling on the bench. That ref ended up being suspended for a very long time, so it wasn't his fault. He was known as the big fundamental, and that's because he would really do everything very technical and precise. He would never do anything too flashy. He would always make sure that the basket goes in. He doesn't want to do anything too extra. He would perform to win and not to show off. And because of his preciseness, he was able to be consistent. His numbers never went down. Even though there was a little drought from 2007 to 2013 about the Spurs showing up in the finals, they were able to go back in 2013, go against LeBron and the Heat. They ended up losing the last game, but then a year later, they got a rematch in the finals and ended up destroying LeBron and the Heat. As a 40-year-old, his last season, which was this past season, 2015 and 16, him and the Spurs had the best regular season record, having 67 wins and 15 losses. Mr. Maloney wrote on NBA.com, July 11, 2016, since drafting Duncan, the Spurs have won 1,072 regular season games, giving the team a 71% winning percentage, which is the best 19-year stretch in NBA history, and is the best in all of the NBA, NFL, NHL, and MLB over the last 19 years. Tim Duncan retired only 10 days ago, making him the only player to win multiple titles in 3 separate decades. And he is the only player to win over 1,000 games with one team. The Spurs have the highest winning percentage ever. They average 58 wins a year. He himself has played more playoff games than 17 other franchises. He himself has played more playoff games than 17 other franchises. That blows my mind. Even though I know this stat, it still blows my mind. He never missed a playoff. He has no idea what a season is without a playoff. The list goes on, but now you know who the #1 all-time scorer of the Spurs is and the best power forward of all time. He had an amazing 19 years in the NBA, getting Rookie of the Year, 5 championships, and having the highest winning percentage by any retired player ever. So next time you find yourself in a top 5 discussion about who are the top 5 best players in the NBA, consider Tim Duncan. And one last thing, as of this morning, it was officially signed by like a legit document that July 21st, which is today, is officially Tim Duncan Day. So happy Tim Duncan Day. Thank you.